Welcome to this custom-tailored deep dive. Today, we're cutting through the noise of the daily news cycle to look at a pretty fundamental shift in global security.
Absolutely.
And we have an incredibly dense stack of sources to work through today. We're anchoring this whole discussion on a brilliant synthesis from a Patreon post by KULT. That specific post acts as a sort of hub. It pulls together ground-level reporting from The Guardian, Plus 972 Magazine, financial data from NDTV Profit, and even some highly technical academic analyses published on Zenodo.
Right, it's a massive compilation.
It really is. And the mission for today's deep dive is to explore how artificial intelligence has crossed this invisible but very critical line. We are moving past the era where AI was just a supported analytical tool running in the background of command centers. Based on the data right in front of us, it has officially become a core operational component in modern warfare.
What's fascinating here is the specific geopolitical context we are dealing with. Because before we get into the mechanics, the architecture of these systems, or the academic papers, we need to be clear with you, the listener, about the event at the center of this source material.
Yeah, that's crucial.
We are looking at the recent joint U.S.-Israeli military offensive against Iran, which began on February 28th. Obviously, this is an intensely charged and complex global conflict.
Very much so.
So we want to be absolutely clear up front. We are not taking any sides here.
Yeah.
We're not endorsing the viewpoints of the analysts quoted in these sources, nor are we making any political judgments about the conflict itself.
Exactly.
Our sole purpose today is to strictly unpack the factual reporting, the data points, and the massive technological implications presented in the text. We are looking purely at the technology, how it was deployed, and what that signals for the future of global defense systems.
Okay, let's unpack this by starting with a very specific incident from the ground in Tehran that illustrates the friction between algorithmic logic and, well, reality. The KULT post highlights an observation by Trita Parsi, a prominent Iranian-American analyst. He pointed out that during the bombing campaign, a location known as Police Park was targeted.
Which is such a wild example.
It is. Because for anyone familiar with Tehran, Police Park is exactly what it sounds like. It's a municipal civilian park with trees and walking paths. It has absolutely no military infrastructure.
Right, it's just a park.
But the overarching directive programmed into the targeting system was to identify government-related structures. So the algorithm flagged the word police, categorized it as a government asset, and generated target coordinates.
And according to Parsi's analysis of the strike, the system operated with such autonomy that no human operator verified the actual physical nature of the target before it was authorized.
Which is terrifying. No one looked to see if it was a building or a swing set.
No, and that perfectly encapsulates a systemic issue we're going to see echoed throughout all of these reports. When you delegate target generation to a machine learning model, you are dealing with a system that processes data, not semantic meaning.
Right, it doesn't actually understand the word.
Exactly. The algorithm doesn't possess contextual awareness or common sense. It sees the text string, POLICE, matches it to a targeting parameter for government infrastructure, and outputs a geospatial coordinate.
It's completely literal.
It is. It doesn't reference a secondary database to check if those coordinates point to a recreation area. And the reason a human didn't catch this discrepancy comes down to a bottleneck in processing power. The system is designed to bypass human verification because human verification slows down the output.
And the output speed is really the core variable here, isn't it?
It's everything.
The Guardian reported that in just the first 12 hours of the offensive against Iran, the U.S. and Israel executed nearly 900 strikes on Iranian sites.
Right, and that operational pace is the detail you really need to focus on.
It's hard to even wrap your head around that number.
It is. Military analysts and defense academics looking at that figure have concluded that executing 900 precise coordinated strikes in a 12-hour window is simply physically impossible using traditional human intelligence methods.
Because of the logistics involved in a traditional strike package.
Exactly. Think about the legacy workflow of intelligence gathering. You have human analysts poring over satellite imagery, translating intercepted communications.
Cross-referencing field reports.
Right, cross-referencing human intelligence reports from the ground. Then, all that data has to be synthesized into a target package. That package is debated by a committee, pushed up the military chain of command, vetted through legal counsel for compliance with rules of engagement, and finally authorized.
which takes days or at least hours for a single target.
Exactly. Doing that 900 times in 12 hours breaks the physical limits of human cognition and bureaucracy.
You just can't do it.
You can't. The only way to achieve that volume is through algorithmic target selection, where the AI is ingesting unstructured data, running it against targeting parameters, and feeding coordinates directly to the weapons systems faster than any human command structure can process them.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the systems driving that 900 strike throughput didn't just materialize overnight for the Iran offensive.
No, they've been in development.
The sources point us back to April 2024 to a very detailed investigative report by the Israeli outlet Plus 972 magazine. They reported that Gaza essentially served as the testing environment for this architecture.
Yes.
The reporting details 3 interconnected AI systems used by the Israel Defense Forces. Rather than just listing them out, let's walk through how they actually interlock.
Good idea.
The first one they name is Lavender. What exactly is the technical function of Lavender in this pipeline?
So Lavender operates as a probability engine. According to the Plus 972 reporting, its primary function was to analyze massive data sets. We're talking communication metadata, social media connections, movement patterns, visual data, and assign a numerical kill rating to individuals.
A kill rating.
Yes. It was calculating the estimated likelihood that a specific person was a Hamas operative. At its peak, the system had flagged up to 37,000 Palestinians as potential targets based purely on these algorithmic probability scores.
Wow. So Lavender builds the database of who to target based on a threshold score.
Right.
But then the reporting mentions a second system, morbidly named Where's Daddy? How does that interface with the data Lavender produces?
If Lavender is the who, then Where's Daddy is the when and where. It's a spatial and temporal tracking system.
Okay.
It takes the target profiles generated by Lavender and tracks those individuals in physical space. The system was reportedly designed to specifically time military strikes for when those individuals entered their family residences.
So it's waiting for them to go home.
Yes. It automates the surveillance and triggers an alert when the target crosses a specific geospatial threshold, in this case, their front door.
And the third system mentioned is Habsora, or the Gospel, which focuses on infrastructure rather than individuals. It identifies buildings for destruction.
Right, so you have this 3-tiered automated pipeline.
One system scores the human, one cracks the human to a physical location, and one maps the structural targets. But the Plus 972 magazine piece brings up the concept of human oversight in this loop, and the metrics they report are striking.
They really are. The reporting dug into what human in the loop actually means in practice when dealing with systems of this scale. The human officers tasked with reviewing Lavender's target recommendations spend an average of only 20 seconds per target before authorizing a lethal strike.
Wait, 20 seconds?
20 seconds?
What can an operator even physically accomplish in 20 seconds? That's barely enough time for a user interface to load a profile, let alone cross-reference the intelligence.
Precisely. In 20 seconds, a human operator is essentially just checking a binary metric. Usually, it was just verifying if the person on the screen appeared to be male.
That's it.
That's it. There is absolutely no time to conduct a rigorous assessment of their actual combatant status, to weigh the potential for civilian casualties, or to audit the raw data the AI used to generate the probability score in the first place. You were just looking at a machine-generated score and clicking Approve.
And the sources note that because of this velocity, the IDF reportedly accepted a 10% error rate in Lavender's results.
Meaning it was understood at the command level that 1 out of every 10 targets generated by the AI was likely a misidentification or a false positive.
But they proceeded with the operational tempo anyway. And the contrast in the data output is staggering. Before the implementation of these AI pipelines, Israeli intelligence analysts working manually produced approximately 50 verified targets per year in Gaza.
50 a year?
Right. After integrating these systems, the IDF reportedly struck up to 250 targets per day.
To really internalize what that means, I want you to imagine your own job, your own daily workflow.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Imagine your mandate suddenly changes, and you are required to increase your output from 50 completed tasks a year to 250 tasks every single day.
It's impossible to do well.
Exactly. That's not just working faster. That is a fundamental shift in the nature of the work itself. When volume increases by that magnitude, the inevitable sacrifice is precision, nuance, and critical judgment.
You just stop thinking.
The human operator simply stops evaluating the work. You become subservient to the speed of the algorithm, the machine dictates the pace, and the human exists only to keep the machine moving.
Which bridges us directly to a broader geopolitical concept brought up in the KULT post. They cite the technology journalist Jacob Ward from his newsletter, The Rip Current.
Yes, Ward's analysis is key here.
Ward coined a term to describe the deployment of these systems. He calls it lethal beta.
Lethal beta is a highly effective framework for understanding this, especially if you understand software development. In the tech sector, releasing a product in beta means you are pushing an unfinished piece of software out to real users in a live environment to see how it performs, to find the edge cases, and to fix the bugs.
Right, you're testing it live.
Ward's argument is that we are witnessing the systematic use of active live conflict zones as beta testing environments for AI-driven weapon systems.
So the conflict is the test.
Yes. The objective isn't just tactical victory on the ground, it's about securing a combat-tested certification for the underlying technology.
Because in the defense industry, combat tested is the ultimate validator.
Exactly. It's the ultimate marketing asset. European, Asian, and North American defense ministries aren't just buying concepts on a whiteboard. They want software that has been proven to function under the chaotic, degraded conditions of actual warfare.
And Ward was incredibly blunt about this dynamic. In a video he posted on March 5th, he said, and I'll quote him directly, "Gaza was the beta test. This week's attacks on Iran are the product launch."
It's chilling when you put it that way.
It really is.
Okay.
He is actively framing a major geopolitical military offensive in the exact vocabulary of a Silicon Valley startup pushing a new SaaS product to market.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to follow the venture capital and the economic incentives driving this. Ward points to the financial data. Israeli defense exports hit a record $14.8 billion in 2024.
$14.8 billion.
Yes. Simultaneously, the number of defense technology startups in the country doubled within that same year. And looking ahead, those startups are projected to attract over $1 billion in foreign and domestic investment through 2025.
So there's a massive financial engine behind this.
Huge. We are talking about the rapid expansion of a highly lucrative global economy built explicitly around the development, optimization, and export of AI warfare architectures. If you are a founder of one of these defense tech startups, the fastest way to increase your valuation and secure your next funding round is to demonstrate that your proprietary algorithm can successfully coordinate a complex 900-strike campaign across a sovereign nation's airspace in a matter of hours.
But the sources are very careful to point out that this is not an isolated technological shift happening in just one country.
No, not at all.
The United States is a massive driver of this transition. Pulling from reports by NDTV Profit and The Guardian, the text details how U.S. Central Command integrated commercial AI models during the Iran offensive.
Specifically, they utilized Anthropic's Claude AI model.
Right. Now, in the enterprise space, we're used to seeing large language models like Claude deployed for synthesizing financial reports, writing code, or managing customer data. But the U.S. military plugged an LLM directly into high-level intelligence analysis and target selection.
Which represents a massive leap in how military intelligence is processed. We were talking earlier about the bottlenecks of human intelligence translating audio intercepts, reading field reports, analyzing satellite telemetry.
All the manual work.
Those are all examples of unstructured data. Historically, that required human synthesis. But an LLM like Claude is specifically designed to instantly parse, synthesize, and cross-reference massive oceans of unstructured text and data.
It can do in seconds what a room full of analysts takes weeks to do.
Exactly. U.S. Central Command utilized this capability to drastically compress their operational planning. The reporting indicates that by using Claude to synthesize the intelligence data, the U.S. military was able to take planning cycles that traditionally would have taken days of committee work and compress them down into just a few hours.
And this compression of time is exactly what the academic analysis in the source material focuses on.
Right, the Zenodo paper.
Yes, the post references a peer-reviewed paper published on Zenodo that analyzed the data from the Iran offensive. They concluded that this specific conflict marks the first large-scale military engagement in human history where artificial intelligence functioned. And this is their exact phrasing, not as a supporting analytical tool, but as a core operational component.
That phrasing is the crux of the entire deep dive. The distinction between a supporting tool and a core component completely changes the paradigm of warfare.
Because it's no longer just a calculator.
Right. A supporting tool is deterministic. It's a calculator or a database query. A human asks a question, the tool provides a data point, and the human uses that data point to formulate a decision.
But as a core component,
When an AI becomes a core operational component, it means the algorithm is the engine driving the decision-making process itself. The system is generating the targets, calculating the probabilities, tracking the assets, and determining the optimal strike window.
the human is just along for the ride.
The paper's authors analyze the data throughput of these systems versus the cognitive limits of the human operators and arrived at a very stark conclusion. They state that in these high-velocity environments, human oversight over life or death decisions has been reduced to a performative rubber stamp.
Performative meaning it exists for optical and legal compliance, rather than actual operational control.
Exactly. The human is kept in the loop purely so that, on paper, a human authorized the strike. But if the human only has 20 seconds to review a complex probability matrix generated by an LLM analyzing millions of data points, the human isn't actually making a decision.
They're just clicking, okay.
They are just providing legal cover for the algorithm's output. The capacity for meaningful human evaluation has been engineered out of the loop in favor of speed.
So what does this all mean? If we synthesize the entire stack of sources, from the algorithmic misidentification of Police Park to the 20-second oversight windows established in Giza, all the way up to U.S. Central Command utilizing commercial LLMs to compress military planning from days to hours, the ultimate takeaway is that the sheer speed and scale of AI-assisted warfare are entirely outpacing the existing frameworks of global conflict.
They're leaving them in the dust.
The international laws of war, the rules of engagement, the chains of command, they were all written for humans making decisions at a human pace. Furthermore, because these systems have now definitively proven their operational value on the ground in Iran, the global market for this technology is going to expand exponentially. Every major military power is looking at this 900 strike data and realizing that automation is no longer optional if they want to maintain parity.
And that is exactly why you, listening to this right now, need to be deeply aware of this shift. We are witnessing a fundamental structural change in the speed of geopolitics.
It affects everything.
For centuries, the escalation of conflict was naturally throttled by the physical limits of human logistics and cognition. It took time to gather intelligence, time to mobilize, time to decide. That buffer of time is what allowed for diplomacy.
It gave room to breathe.
It's what allowed for de-escalation. It gave leaders the margin of error needed to pick up a phone and stop a misunderstanding from spiraling into a war. Now, as machines take over the core operational components, making lethal targeting decisions in a matter of seconds, that buffer of time is being erased.
The buffer is just gone.
The margin for error vanishes entirely. The global security landscape fundamentally changes for everyone when the speed of warfare exceeds the speed of human thought.
It's a sobering reality.
It is, and this raises an important question, something I really want you to mull over as you go about your day. All the reporting we've looked at today shows us what happens when one coalition utilizes AI to accelerate their targeting capabilities against an adversary. But what happens when two opposing nations are both entirely reliant on AI to fight each other?
Wow.
If algorithms are already compressing the cycle of warfare from days down to hours or even seconds, and if human operators are already reduced to a performative rubber stamp because they simply cannot process the data fast enough, will we soon see a conflict that is entirely initiated, escalated, and executed by competing lines of code long before a human being can even reach the off switch?
That is exactly the kind of question that makes digging into these sources so crucial. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the systems operating around you. Keep looking for the data beneath the headlines, and we will catch you next time.